Hi, this is Scott Garibay, and today I'm going to be talking about Batman vs. Hulk, which is a tabletop role-playing game I played with my tabletop role-playing game group, Garnet Mace. And this is a very unusual tabletop role-playing game. So basically, this is a story that is taking place chronologically near the time when Earth 616, the prime world of Marvel, and Earth Prime, the prime world of DC, there are portals going between the two. So right now, that's an existing mystery on how and why those portals are appearing the way they are. And superheroes at this point, this is the beginning of those two worlds being connected, and so there are superheroes going back and forth between the two. Because we're using superheroes from the Marvel world and superheroes from the DC world, we had to accomplish that by using DC Adventures, the current DC Adventures tabletop role-playing game, and then also the Marvel Superheroes Adventure game, right, which is card-based. So two very different tabletop role-playing game systems, and so that's definitely, for me, that's the deep end of the pool when you're running a tabletop role-playing game, but you're actually using two rule systems. I have done this before. The last time I did this was when I actually ran Dragonlance Saga Edition within Shadowrun as a Matrix Adventure, where the Matrix Adventure was a game within another game. So I have a little bit of experience running a tabletop role-playing game where you're merging two rule systems. It did work really well, and we were actually able to accomplish what we wanted to. I want to talk about my players real quick. So the players that the players that joined me for this are Norman and Reggie. And one of the reasons why we kept this a very small group was because, one, these games are not actually the Marvel Superheroes game. It's actually very challenging. The Marvel Superheroes Adventure game, it's a card-based system. It's very difficult to get the rules set. So I didn't really feel it was fair to ask, 4-6 players to try to get an out-of-print game. And then the DC Adventures game is very accessible. But, again, going to 4 to 6 players and saying, hey, I need you to go buy 2 tabletop role-playing games to play this game was very unusual. Norman and Reggie really wanted to create, all 3 of us had read Adventures vs. X-Men, and within Adventures vs. X-Men is that particular crossover event was really a spectacular game. I really, really liked it a lot, and so did Norman and Reggie. But one of the things they did there was there would be fights constantly between the Avengers and the X-Men, just like the title told you, and the storyline would be going along, and then Namor would fight the Thing, and that's literally a pairing they had in the in the story arc, right? Or you might have Captain America, sparring off against Cyclops, perfect example, right? So what they did was you bought the story comic, and that told you the story, and each time a fight would break out, that fight would be contained to 1 page within the storyline comic, okay? And then they would publish another book, another entire comic book issue, a single issue, which would contain the entire fight. So you'll really got to see a sketch of it in the storyline, where it was, maybe a full page would cover one fight, or maybe 2 or 3 panels you'd see, just a few glimpses from that fight between Namor and the Thing, or between Captain America and Cyclops. But then within the regular game, right, you would get within the regular comic book issue, you get a full-blown fight between those. So that's what Norman and Reggie were really interested in, is they wanted to see a full detail, blow by blow setup for Batman versus Hulk, right? So it was my job to build a structure where that fight would logically fit within the storyline, right? So I'm in charge of that story comic, right? But Norman and Reggie, so Norman played Batman, and Reggie played the Hulk, okay? And Norman and Reggie handled Batman and the Hulk. And it was their job before the game, so one of the things, like, there was a lot of setup for this game. So one, we had to get familiar with both rule sets. And then in addition to that, we had to and then Norman and Reggie did a really thorough job of making sure they understood all of Batman's air quote superpowers, everything he could bring to the fight with the Hulk, and then Reggie needed to understand everything the Hulk could bring to a fight with Batman, right? Now when we went into the game, neither one of them knew where the fight would happen. They did know it would fight. Actually, they knew it would most likely occur on Earth 616 or Earth Prime, but they weren't positive, And so it could be on either one of those, or I could have taken it to any of the worlds that were connected to the DC world or the Marvel world, right? So using these published tabletop role-playing games, and blending, and the way we worked it was, whenever anyone from the Marvel side took an action, we used the rule set for the Marvel superhero adventure game, the Saga card edition. And then anytime that a DC character used their powers, we would use the DC Adventures rule set. So this allowed us to have fully fleshed out characters so we didn't have to guess at their stats. And then Norman and Reggie trusted me to make that balance so that each one was being handled the way they should, fairly. Now that was not a problem at all, because both of these tabletop role-playing games, were made with full permission of DC and Marvel, and they were, these are professionally made tabletop role-playing games. There was really no problem at all meshing the two rules together, and so it was really, that was our setup for the game. I really had a great time. Norman and Reggie really enjoyed it. This went on a little bit, but so this was really about the setup for our game. And next time I'll tell you about what happened when we actually got it rolling. Thank you.